Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. A little different format this week. As you can see, my man Timmy's not here with me. He's over he took a trip to Vegas. He's been going everywhere lately. But I guess he's on a little weekend bender. So we're gonna catch back up with him next week. Um, but this week I think we're gonna feel in just fine. But I already told you he don't know anything about football anyway. So let's just jump right into it, and we're just gonna go over all of the games this week, and then we'll talk about next week. But we're gonna spend a little bit more time just on that. All right, cool. So to start the week, the Cardinals they defeated the Saints 42-34. I think the Cardinals are an interesting team. However, they have a lot of turmoil inside, and it's very clear Kyler Murray is not a fan of Cliff Kingsbury and how he does things. And they said what they said in the offseason about his ability to put in the time to do this, to play quarterback, and they alluded to him holding them back. So I don't think that this is going to work out long term, but as of right now, I think they're an interesting team, and I still have to wait a minute to see what their ceiling is. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs or not yet, but we'll revisit that later on. Because we have a third um playoff prediction where me and Timmy are going to go in and see if what we need to change in terms of the playoff picture, and that will be our last one for the year. All right. So moving on, the Ravens beat the Browns in what was a really good game. Like it looked like the Ravens were going to pull away, and then the Browns came right back. Like I mean, this was like I'm looking at the stats here. Like actually, Lamar Jackson wasn't even like the best quarterback on the field, like Jacoby Brissett was, which was crazy. I mean, I know him a little bit from like playing with the Colts and everything like that, but I mean, in certain spots, he'll do it for you, you know. But Lamar Jackson was 9 of 16 for 120 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Gus Edwards really, really helped them out. But Jacoby Brissett went 22 of 27 for 258 yards, but he didn't have any touchdowns. We didn't have any picks either. So Nick Chubb went off 16 carries for 91 yards. Um, yeah, I think Baltimore they're a team to be reckoned with, and I think this is what people may have thought they were going to be coming into this year, and I think they're starting to come into form, and I think they're going to be a really dangerous team uh come come playoff time, and as you go down the as we get closer to the playoffs. All right, moving on. Next, we had the upset of the week. The Carolina Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 21-3. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I don't know. I don't know about y'all. I sure didn't. Carolina this week they just started wholesaling and packaging and saying we're going to sell everybody here. They fired the coach. Like, who would have thought this was going to happen? So, I mean, Tom Brady didn't have a bad game. He was 20, I mean, he was 32 of 49, 290 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns, no picks. He didn't have any help in the run game. But I mean, geez Louise, like Philip Walker actually was a past Colt, by the way. I just want everybody to know that too. 16 of 22, 177 yards, two touchdowns and zero picks. Listen, I'm not mad at him either. Listen, he spread the ball around. He got everybody involved. Um, I think the bigger note here is that Tampa Bay clearly is being affected by something, and it probably has more to do with like Tom Brady and his home life and finding out how we're going to do all of this. And clearly something is wrong there. I alluded to it a couple of times here. Something's not right. I still like them. I think that they'll get on track. I think that as the season progresses, they'll get into this year's rhythm because I think they got a really good defense. I think they got a running game in which they could lean on, and they got Tom Brady. And they got the weapons to like really back this up. So I think that you give them time, they're gonna figure this out. All right. All right. Moving on. Cincinnati Bengals beat the Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons, 35-15. Um, yeah, like you know what? I think, like I said earlier this year, um, Cincinnati, they didn't get off to the greatest start. And I was like, well, they're a team that's going to um just like I said with Tampa Bay, they're going to get better as the season progresses because they got to figure out this year. You know, you can't go off of what happened last year. This year, what happened? So this year they start off slow, but now, I mean, they look like they're back in form, and they don't look like they're your team that you really want to play. Um, Joe Burrow was 34-42 for 481 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 picks. Jeez Louise, he lit them up. Um, man. I mean, Tyler Boyd had 155 yards receiving and a touchdown. Ja'Marr Chase had 130 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins had 93 yards receptions. This was domination. This is what I think, and I think the Bengals. I think we're getting to see the real Bengals, and I don't think this is something that everybody really wanted to see, but they're here. They were my personal pick to win their division, and I'm sticking with that. So boom, let's do this. All right, Timmy's Cowboys. Let me just say this: Timmy's Cowboys going for a rough start against Detroit, and he's not here to defend himself, but he was sweating. He was sweating for like 3.5 quarters, and they ended up pulling it out at the end. But they won. They beat Detroit 24-6. Jared Goff had a Jared Goff game. See, sometimes Jared Goff looks good, and sometimes he's, you know, 228 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, no, 228 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. So I think sometimes you get things like that. But the bigger story is Dak coming back. He looked like he had some rust, but he got it together. He was 19-25, 207 yards, 1 touchdown. Didn't throw any picks. I mean, there's nothing more that you can really hope for. One thing that I love that I got to keep an eye on. I think at some point Dallas is going to tell Tony Pollard you're going to be the running back one. I think he's consistently shown that he's been better than Ezekiel Elliott over like the last like 2 years, and I hope Zeke can adapt to a new role, and I'll say that. So, um, okay. So let's go to our next game. Next game. I'm working on how I'm going to look at everything as we're talking because I don't have any downtime. So, so I'm working on you. So, I'm working on it. So next, the New York Giants. Listen, the New York Giants are for real, man. Like the New York Giants are for real. Um, I'm going to call it here, and I'm going to call it now. I now think the NFC East is going to have 3 teams in the playoffs. Um, I think they're going to have 3 teams in the playoffs, and I don't like this is crazy because if I don't know who the Eagles clearly are the best team right now, but who's really better, the Giants or the Cowboys? Now the Cowboys did beat you know the Giants. However, I think the Giants are showing that they can just know how to win, and they had a lot of like, young pieces that were stepping up, and they had to figure out how to step up. Um, yeah, I mean they're winning, and they're winning. You know what I like about I like certain teams. You kind of look at and you say, oh, how they're winning. It's not impressive per se, but it's impressive in the fact of you can win despite not having a quarterback because of your defense and your running game and things like that. Like it reminds me of like the Jets when like Darrell Revis, what was that like 2010, I think 2010, 2012, something like that, where this defense is just you're winning despite your quarterback. Daniel Jones, 19 to 30, 202 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, he didn't only picks, but boom. But like, I mean, clearly Saquon Barkley, who had 24 carries for 110 yards, you know. Oh, actually, Daniel Jones did have 100 yards rushing, which I'll give him that. But passing wise, I'm still sticking with what I stick with. Like, they have a deficiency at quarterback, and they're still finding a way to win. And yeah, and I think that Jacksonville may have won. Excuse me, they may have hit their ceiling, and and we just got to see what's up with that. You know what I mean? Like, because they started off as a team, they're like, what is going on here? But now being like 2-5, I mean, they're clearly like starting to like fall off a little bit from a good start. But Trevor Lawrence, 24. I mean, he was 22 of 43, 310 yards. I mean, he didn't have any touchdowns, but he didn't have any picks either. And I think Trevor Lawrence this offseason they're going to have to do more for him. You know, unfortunately, I think the overpaying for these wide receivers is showing their head for Jacksonville, but we'll get into that. You know. All right, moving forward. So we got the Green Bay Packers losing to the Washington Commanders. Um, yeah, I mean Green Bay is clearly having a hard time. I said this, I predicted this in the beginning of the season. Um, in the beginning of the season, I said, listen, they're gonna have all these new wide receivers. They really don't have a wide receiver one, and they're gonna have to figure out creative ways of moving the ball. I thought play action was going to be a big part of it. I would love to see the Packers run the ball a lot more and then have people start to have to stack the box. And I think that's more of their formula. They're not really going to that like they should, like just run the ball, play action pass, run the ball, play action pass, run the ball, play action pass. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Taylor Heineke once again, he played good, man. He played good. He was good. I don't have much more to say about this game, but they were Green Bay. You'll get it together. You'll get it together. And now we move on to the Tennessee Titans sweeping my Indianapolis Colts. They swept my Indianapolis Colts. They swept my Indianapolis Colts. Bring out the broom. I mean, I think this is like the nail in the coffin that Frank Wright is gonna be probably let go at the end of this year. I don't think we'll be bad enough to where it'll happen in the season or during the season, but at the end of the season, I do think that this is what's going to happen. Um, our offensive line is I don't know what happened with our offensive line. Um, it's just bad at this point, and Matt Ryan is not doing us any favors in terms of the turnover department where he had two picks. Like he's throwing for a lot of yards, but then he's throwing like he's leading the league in interceptions. If he's not leading the league in interceptions, he's second. So he's not doing us any favors. I think a lot of this is coaching, and I don't think that a team was just better than us when they beat us. But we're also pretty lucky because we could easily have not won one game all year because we've always put ourselves in these bad situations. So unfortunately, I mean, you won't be hearing too much about the Indianapolis Colts for a minute because we only talk about good teams. And yes, I'm talking about my own team here. So, I'm gonna talk about it anyway. The Raiders beat the Texans, 38-20, and I'm actually, for the rest of the year, I mean, I'm pretty much rooting for Houston to beat all these teams because I don't think they're a bad team. And the guy, actually, I really like their running back, Pierce. Pierce, I'm like Damian Pierce. I'm like a real like big fan of his. Like he's a good running back. He's tough. He's fast. He's physical. He gives them what they need. But two teams that aren't doing well. I'm shocked that the Raiders aren't doing well. No, I'm not shocked that they're not doing well because they have Josh McDaniels as their coach and he's a little snaky. He's a little snaky. But hey, that's here nor there. we'll we'll keep moving that. Oh, I caught a bug. No, I didn't. I thought I did. It was a gnat. But he's still at large, so keep that in mind. All right. Then going the Jets beat the Broncos 16-9 in a very defensive game. Um the Jets, I mean, they're 5-2. The Jets are for real. That would be one thing that I was wrong about. I'm not wrong about what I think about Zach Wilson, but the Jets this year, they're a team. Listen, they find ways to beat you. Hopefully that Brees Hall injury isn't serious because then that'll make things a lot harder for them. But they're a good team. They're 5-2. and they're a pretty exciting team to watch, you know. So I don't have much to say here. Unfortunately, Denver is looking like this is going to be a rough year. They're 2-5, and well, that's not great. So it looks like Denver is going to be the first team out of the playoffs that I picked. So so it is what it is. It is what it is. So, but moving on, in what was supposed to be the game of the week, the Kansas City Chiefs, they actually beat the San Francisco 49ers 44-23. Um, yeah, I mean, I think this shows how good, like I said, this whole year to me is showing how good Patrick Mahomes is and why I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. And everybody else is second to him because I don't think this is a strong roster. And it's not mattering. You know, like they went through a wholesale change in terms of offensive philosophy. That's not mattering. Their defense, it's not like it's like a whole lot better, you know, than it was last year or the year before. No, I'm lying. The year before, that's when they had Tyrann Mathieu, so that was a good defense. But yeah, man, 25 of 34, 423 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. He did have a pick, but I mean, he lit up a great defense. Like that's like the San Francisco 49ers is one of the best defenses in the NFL. He lit them up, you know, and actually they're climbing despite of their defense. This is kind of like that. Remember back in the day when like Peyton Manning with the Colts, when we never really had a good defense. We might have had pieces that were good, you know, like Dwight Freeney, and they got Chris Jones, and you know, we might have had Robert Mathis and Bob Sand. You know what I mean? We had pieces, but like the defense wasn't something that was like, oh, it's just gonna stop everybody. And he's picking up everything on his back, you know, and just basically saying, you're not gonna outscore me. Watch this happen. So I'm very excited to see the Kansas City as the season goes forward. You know, but I think San Francisco just getting Christian McCaffrey, I think that'll pay dividends as the season goes on. He'll figure it out, and I think they'll be in a good situation too. This could be a preview of the Super Bowl. It could be. Um, Guys, the Seattle Seahawks. What do you guys think? I'm very curious. If you guys watch this, let me know what you think about the Seattle Seahawks. Um, they're 4-3. They beat like a lot of teams, and Gino is still like lighting people up. I mean, he's efficient. He's not really turning the ball over. I think he's doing a great job, man. But they put up 37. They beat the LA Chargers 37-23. Now, I already told you, I think the Chargers are not going to make the playoffs, and I think that might be the only reason why the Indianapolis Colts make the playoffs. And we'll see. I'll let you guys know more about that as the season goes on. But I think they clearly got some limitations, and Seattle, boy, I don't know what to say about them. Um, so then Miami, last night they beat the Steelers 16-10. Tua came back. Yeah, they made Kenny Pickett look like a rookie. The Dolphins defense made Kenny Pickett look like a rookie, and it's growing pains. You got to expect, you know. It actually one thing that I always say. Sorry about that, y'all. One thing that I always say is if you're gonna lose, I'd rather lose humiliatingly because there's nothing that you can like. Everything's an emergency now, and I think Kenny Pickett is like, all right, this is an emergency. What do I have to fix? Because I can't put up a performance like that again. But that's here nor there. Tua came back in his first game back from his concussions. I'm happy to see him back, and I'm happy to see him healthy. Um, he threw for 261 yards, a touchdown, no picks, efficient. I'm happy that he's doing well. I'm happy he's doing well. Okay. And in the final game of this week, oh, excuse me, before I say that, I do think the Dolphins get back on track, and I do think they're a playoff team. I really do. I think they're going to come through. So for the last game of this week, actually has not happened yet because this is Monday in the daytime. So tonight, I'm just going to do the prediction for the Bears Patriots game. I'm actually pretty interested to see it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't watched too many Patriots games. I haven't watched too many Patriots games this year. But they seem to have found their answer at quarterback, you know. Oh, but it just I was just looking at the thing and it looks like Mac Jones might be starting. So I don't know. But however, I think this is a pretty easy game to see. I told you in the beginning of the season, I thought that the Bears were one of the worst teams in the NFL. So if not the worst roster. So I don't think this is anything to really predict, but I think the Patriots are going to be uh, are they going to win this game? Um, but I do want to see how they are in this game. I think that they'll usually Bill Belichick teams usually handle their business against teams that they're better than, and yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to do next week when they play the Jets. That will be a game that we're going to talk about, and we'll get into that. Okay, so that wraps up week 7 for us. Okay, so boom. Um, so for the sake of time's sake, we're going to go straight into games that we need to watch come next week. All right. So in week 8, the games that we're going to watch, we're still going to pick 4 games, and we're going to go from there. Um, First game I want to see on Thursday, the Ravens are going to be at the Buccaneers. I don't know, like it's hard for me to imagine the Buccaneers just being a bad team. And I'm just like, all right, this usually is a game. This is usually the game where like a Tom Brady, where if he struggles, he'll come in and he'll beat a team that's like, okay, well now they're back on track, and they use that as a platform for momentum to keep going. So I'm actually pretty interested in that game. That's going to be one game, the Ravens at Tampa Bay. Um, Next, I'm going to go, as I said before, Patriots Jets. Um, I think we know that Buffalo is the best team in that division. However, who's number 2? Because if the Patriots are looking like, I just wanted to see like who's really number 2. Is it Miami? Is it the Patriots? Is it the Jets? Well, 2 of those teams are going to play. And I'm very curious to see how that works out because I think Miami is number 2. And I think this is the battle of 3 and 4, but we'll see. And I just want to see how this shapes up with these 2 teams. Um, okay, here's a game right here. Boom. Giants Seahawks. I don't know what to make of either one of these teams. It's interesting how these 2 teams have won. I think this will be a really good game, and I can't wait to see it. You know, um, and actually this is going to be a pretty good week. So I picked 3. So I picked Ravens Bucks. I picked Patriots Jets. I picked Giants Seahawks. And for the 4th game, because there's 2 games that I'm actually pretty interested in, but I'm gonna go Niners Rams in a divisional game, and I think that this could go for as far as to determine the division. Now the Niners have given the Rams a hard time to say the least. They've definitely dominated that interaction, those games. I think this game is a little bit more pivotal for the Rams than it is the 49ers, but I just want to see it. I think it's going to be a really good game. So we'll check back in with that. All right. So those are those 4 games. And then let's see if we can get in some spread picks, you know? Um I'm gonna get some water too. Just gotta stay hydrated, guys. Normally, you guys see us drinking something like whiskey or something like that. Today, it's daytime. We're gonna drink water. Um. Okay. So Vegas odds. Oh, first one I'm gonna see that I think is pretty easy to see. Um. I'm going to go with the Chargers are favored by 4.5 against the Seahawks, and I think uh Seattle is going to take that. Um, so I'm taking Seattle plus 4.5. So that's one game that I'm going to take. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this week's. Yeah, we're gonna have to edit that out because that was a big. actually, actually, I just recognized what happened. They don't have the lines up for next week because because they don't come out until Tuesday and it's Monday. See, I'm all messed up. I'm all messed up because of how everything went down. So, unfortunately, this week I can't give any lines because they're not up yet. You can't got to figure that out. Uh, so maybe so that's fine though because we're Timmy will be back on Friday and we'll give you another episode and we're gonna have more lines and spreads going into it. So this is actually going to be a really good week for everybody because we're going to give you extra this week to cover up, what the differences and what didn't go right this week. So with that said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for tuning in to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. I'm your host, Tariq. Your boy Timmy will be back next week. And you guys stay tuned. Have a great week. See you when I see you.